different than the tribes that I was used to in the United States. And he asked me to begin to do ceremony with him. And for many years, we did ceremony with hundreds of tribes from all over South America that came in. And then in about 2003, the Hunbatsman asked me to come in, and we began to do ceremony in ways that was much, much deeper, involving tribes from all over the world at this point, and where I began to understand their ceremonies and what this meant, because I didn't really understand what ceremony meant at that point. It wasn't until just recently, until 2007, that the actual president of the entire Mayan nation came to me, and we'll speak about that in just a little while. We know that human consciousness is evolving. Science has recorded this evolution over long periods of time and is very aware of it. The Encyclopedia Britannica, it discovered something recently, and I think it was in about the late 80s when this happened. They discovered that if you took all the knowledge that all of humanity had learned since the beginning of our civilization, which is the Sumerians, about 6,000 years ago, and you took everything they learned all the way up into the year 1900, that there were so many bits of information, thinking in terms of computers, there were so many bits of information that we had learned. It was a very large amount of time, 6,000 years. And so we slowly begin to evolve and learn a lot of things. And then the encyclopedia discovered that from the year 1900 to 1950, we learned as many things as we did in the last 6,000 years. That's incredible. In 50 years, we learned as much as we did in 6,000 years. Who would have ever guessed that? And then they discovered that from, these are approximate dates, they're not precise, that from about 1950 to about 1970, we learned as much as we did in 6,000 years again, instead of 50 years and only 20 years. And then from 1970 to about 1980, we learned again how much we learned in 6,000 years. And it kept speeding up to about 1986 or so. We doubled it again, and it kept going on. And now, in fact, there was a time with NASA when the information was flooding in so fast that they couldn't even put it into their computers. They were about 8 or 9 years behind being able to even get it in. They had to wait until the hardware and the software caught up to their ability to learn. At this point, we are on a straight up curve. We are learning as much as we learned. I don't know the exact time, but approximately in 1 month, we are learning as much as we've learned in 6,000 years. This seems impossible, but it's fact if you check it out. And so it means that there's a curve. We were slowly evolving, getting smarter and smarter and smarter, and all of a sudden, as we're approaching modern time, we started going up, and it's a straight up curve right now. What the Mayans say is that we are about to go through a consciousness change, a change of great, I don't even know how to put this in human terms, but it is, we are about to become something brand new, a new species, a new way of perceiving the reality. And that's really what this show is about, is this change in consciousness. Sure, we're going to talk about a lot of other things, but this is what is underneath all of this. When we look back at the ancient cultures, it becomes clear that we humans are now very different than we were, say, 2,000 years ago. That's pretty obvious. Not just our modern techno toys, but different in how we perceive the very reality around us, what we think the reality is, and who we think we are within this. The Mayans say, however, that human consciousness evolution is timed to the cycles of time, similar to how DNA unfolds as it reaches certain chromosomes, and that we are now at this moment approaching a narrow point in time when human evolution speeds up tremendously and makes a jump into a new level of awareness. We become something greater than what is now called human. It is within this understanding that we will return to explain what the Mayans have to say about what we are about to become. And it is within this understanding that we will constantly be referring when we speak about human consciousness changing. So just understand that, because I'm going to keep talking about it. We can't really proceed to understand what the Maya have to say about their prophecy without understanding of how the ancient world perceives ceremony. This is another level of it. We are actually linked together in the Mayan mind. Ceremony to the ancient world was far more than what we in the modern world understand or even begin to grasp. We think that science and logic is the way of this new world we live within. We definitely believe that we are superior to what has come before us, and that technology will eventually make our lives better and more worthwhile. But if you think that technology is going to save you from what Mother Earth is about to bring to humanity, and if the Maya are correct, then you're in for a hard surprise. Like we said in the beginning, life is not what you think it is. And the Sanskrit Vedas, written over 6,000 years ago, it speaks about this time we now live within. It talks about how we learn about electricity and magnetism, and that how we learn to fly in the sky with metal boxes. That's actually a quote. And then on a single day, the Vedas say, we give it all up. Much like a child as it grows older, it lets go of its teddy bear and reaches for a higher vision. We're about to do the same thing. From the Mayan point of view, high technology is not a sign of an advanced civilization. It is a sign of a civilization about to be advanced. What good is technology to a people if they discover that the human body and human consciousness is capable of doing everything that technology is now doing, and far, far more? This is what we are about to understand according to the Maya. First of all, the Maya people see and know the earth as a living being and conscious of everything that is occurring on her body. And further, the Mayas see that everything in the heavens are living beings that interact with each other. We don't. We just see the earth as a rock. Ceremony is direct communication and a living bond with Great Spirit, Mother Earth, Father Sky, and all life everywhere. From the ancient world, it is understood that before any change in the human world can take place on earth, a ceremony has to be performed first. Ceremony is what links our hearts and the hearts of the earth and the heart of the sun and the heart of the universe and everything and everyone that exists. When the ancient world enters into ceremony, they enter into a sacred world of eternal possibilities. The Maya have predicted that as we approach 2012, humanity will enter into chaos on a very deep level. But you will have no reason for fear. It is not the end, it is the beginning, as you'll soon understand. Is it the end of the cycle of time? Is it the beginning of a new cycle with great beauty and hope? This is what we have to find out. But if we focus on the end of this cycle, as we look back around us, we see that everything in modern times right now are beginning to degenerate and break apart on vast and primal levels, exactly as the Maya had predicted. For example, global warming and the world's environment rapidly approaching a probable ice age that would eliminate most life on Earth.